And I'm excited to hear what our staff has come up with as we move forward on this strategic plan, and seeing where we're going to be at when we get to the end of the year. So, Dr. McLean, thank you for that opportunity, and just let's take off with it.
Thank you so much, Chairman Richardson. Our current strategic plan for Granville County Public Schools, I'm putting up here, takes us through the year 2023. So it is time for us to begin the inner workings of looking ahead to 2027. So that is what you are a part of today. We typically have strategic plans that last 5 years. We began that work in 2017 when I first arrived, and the plan itself covered 2018 to 2023. We now want to have a strategic plan again for 5 years that will take us to 2027. So, our district team began this work this summer with some internal stakeholders, and today we're partnering with our strategic task force members, internal and external, to ascertain some thoughts, some ideas, and information you might have as we continue this work. Now, one thing about a strategic plan is that there is never really an end. So never stop thinking about how we get to where we want children to be, because there really is never an end point. But there are strategic steps and goals and strategies along the way for all of us to strive for as we work with children. And that's what today is about. So let me begin by saying thank you to everyone who took time to be on the call. We are recording today so that those who could not make the call could possibly take a look later, and know that we will continue to reach out to you at a later date to once again run ideas by you and to generate even more ideas in the future. However, at some point, we're going to have to get something in print. So we want you to put on your thinking hats. We're going to go on a roller coaster ride for the next couple of minutes, and we're going to drink from a fire hose as we hear from some district staff. They're going to bring you up to speed with what we've talked about since this summer, and they're going to get some ideas from you. So let me also say thank you to our strategic task force members from our board who are with us. That's Dr. Greg McKnight and Mrs. Williams, Miss Glenda Williams. They are with us today, and they will be reporting back to the full board along with Mr. Richardson. So, Dr. Winborn, let's get that presentation up, if you will. We're going to jump right on in to today's input session. Now, here is the overall goal. All of us want the same thing in mind, and that's to make this a wonderful place for children to learn and grow. We are an academic organization, so learning is key. It's paramount. But growth is essential for every single student, because that means we take them where they are, wherever they are, and our charge is to grow them. Next slide. When we wear we wear star lapel pins in Granville County. In our public school system, the 5 points on the star stand for something. It means we want our district to be known for delivering caring service with a smile. We want people to know that we have high standards for all students, not some, all students, and we have high expectations for all students, quality instruction and engagement by all students, and fast response and quality communication with our parents, with our stakeholders, and our partners. Next slide. It is also critically important to us that everyone understands our motto. That is our commitment to excellence and achievement for all. And that's the basis for our strategic plan. Now, our vision is that every single student at every one of our buildings will reach his or her fullest potential, and that they are prepared to thrive in this changing world. So when we are coming up with data and numbers and figures and goals today, please keep that at the forefront of your thinking. We want every student to reach his or her fullest potential, prepared to thrive in this changing world. And our mission is to empower every student every day. Now, there are 5 categories that are strategic priorities for us in this work. You're going to hear from one of our district staff members in the area of academic success, another in the area of health and safety, another in the area of human capital management, then in physical responsibility, and then in communication and community. And the core values at the root of all we do are learning, relationships, growth, creativity, and leadership. So, those are the core essentials around which all of our work and the strategic priorities will occur. So, just keep that in mind. Next slide. Now, here's some district data I'm going to fly through for you because there have been some things that have changed since we developed our first strategic plan when I arrived. Let's take a look at some of these changes over time. Take a look at the student demographics. When I arrived in 2017-18, some data looked different. This is data from 18-19, and in red, you'll see where we are in 21-22. Look at our student demographic data. Just look at it. Just take a look. We're not going to go into great detail today because, like I said, we're coming back together. But I did think it was important for you to look at some of the demographic differences before we launch into discussion and conversation. Take a look at the demographic differences. Some areas remained the same and some changed dramatically. Next slide. Now take a look at our free and reduced lunch comparisons. Look at where we were in 2007, 2008 at 46.6%. I arrived in 2017 and 18. 61% of our students were on free and reduced lunch. In 18 and 19, that 61 turned into 66%. That's almost 70% of our district. In 1920, when the pandemic hit half of the year, we were at 55%. Last year, 52%. And this year, we're right at 54% of our youngsters being on free and reduced lunch. And I have to say that's thus far because we're still accepting applications. All right, just keep that in your storage box. Now look at our schools. There have been some differences here in schools. When I arrived, we had 20 schools. And look, there were 9 elementary, 4 middle, 4 high schools, an early college high school, an alternative school. And we newly created Granville Academy when I arrived. Now look at where we are. We have 17 schools, 8 elementary, 3 middle, 3 comprehensive high schools, an early college high, an alternative high school, an alternative school, Granville Academy, and our 5-star academy is over there as well, but they come under one number. All that's just good information to know as we have conversation today. Next slide. When it comes to testing and accountability, this is just good data for you to know. Here are the areas of EOG and EOC. We're still accountable for the same tested areas, but take a look at this next slide. North Carolina has said things are going to be counted a little differently this year, and that is they're only used as baseline data due to the pandemic. Things have been standard set since the last time assessments were given. Most of the youngsters in several rural counties had lack of connectivity. And because youngsters were in and out of school sporadically last year, the data doesn't count. It's only for baseline data. So when we're talking about goals and setting goals in the academic arena today, keep this in mind. We've got to think about a different trajectory because things changed a little bit here. But here's what I want you to know. We are still going to focus on growth for all of our children. We also have 4 restart schools. What does that mean? That means we have 4 schools that have charter-like flexibilities. You see them listed here. West Oxford Elementary, Creedmoor Elementary, Butner-Stem, Middle, and Northern Granville Middle. Next slide. Our performance goal is this. We want to outperform the state rate of progress as measured by state proficiency composites in the North Carolina accountability model when they get back to doing that again. And that might very well be this year. We have not heard yet. We want all of our schools to meet or exceed growth. And we want to have A and B schools and certainly nothing less than a C. So, how do we show that in our plan? I want you to think about that. Next slide. Scholarships still matter. So when we're thinking about writing our plan, look, this is what we did. The class of 2019, they had over $6 million in scholarships. Last year was close as well. So we have college going students in our community. That money still matters. So we want to make sure we're doing all we can to help them with that. How do we show that in the strategic plan? I need everyone to think about this. Next slide, please. We want to have a laser-like focus when it comes to academics. We want to point to achievement. Remember, we're about excellence and achievement for all, not some, for all. And we want to be about continuous improvement with all of our students, no matter where they are, academically, socially, emotionally, and with their mental health, mental well-being. All right, now the next slide. Let's switch gears just a moment. It's important, everyone remember, reading. We are a literacy-rich district. We're asking that our families read at home every day. And that's because in order to even pass a math assessment now, you must know how to read. So let's not forget that. How do we show that in our plan? Let's think about that. Next slide. Let's also remember safety is one of the top priorities in our district. We have zero tolerance for bullying, drugs, alcohol, weapons, fighting. And we embrace, if you see something, say something. We embrace keeping children safe at the bus stops, not having them out there long times before the bus arrives. And we embrace the 3 W's, the hand washing, the mask wearing, and social distancing in our district. Safety is key in our district. This picture in the next slide says a bunch. We have great working relationships with our police offices, with our public safety offices, and with our sheriff's offices in Granville County. Next slide. Let's switch gears one more time. The strategic plan work today. So you have some facilitators who are going to guide you through the processes today. Let me introduce them to you at this time. Next slide. Once again, keep this in mind. Academic success, health and safety, human capital management, fiscal responsibility, communication, and community. Those are the 5 areas in our plan. So that's what we will be talking about. You know our vision, you know our mission, and the core values. Next slide. And these are our facilitators. Mrs. Beth Day is going to be talking with you about the fiscal responsibility component and what we've received thus far and where you could help us strengthen our strategic plan. Mr. Bill Graham over operations is going to talk with you about the area of health and safety in our district. Mr. Jamar Perry in our human resources department is going to talk with you about human capital management. Dr. Stan Winborn is going to talk with you about academic success. And Mrs. Courtney Curran is going to talk with you about communication and community. Next slide. The directions are as follows. Our facilitators will present their work thus far this year, and they've done that with various internal focus groups, and today seek your input, opinions, and suggestions to include in our 2022-2027 strategic plan. So we are wide open for suggestions, ideas, opinions, and suggestions to strengthen our strategic plan. That is where you come in. So to begin this afternoon, next slide. We will begin with fiscal responsibility. I turn it over to Ms. Beth Day.
Thank you, Dr. McLean. Stan, if you'll go on to the next slide. So we're just going to kind of drill into the fiscal responsibility part of that strategic plan and what it says. So the strategies associated with that are alignment to priorities, long-term facility planning, and transparency. Our overarching so this is the section on fiscal responsibility, but let's look at the overarching goals. So next slide. We will align our budget and resources to the needs of our schools and community, ensuring our resources are used in the service of our students. So that is our goal under fiscal responsibility. So next slide. Then looking at the strategies and the rationale associated with that. That's where those three strategies, alignment to priorities, long-term facility planning, and transparency, are the three tenors under the strategies under the fiscal responsibility goal. And you can kind of see the rationale behind each of those strategies. Next slide. So as we've done this work, as Dr. McLean mentioned, with other stakeholder groups, some of the things that have come out of that and that are part of our metrics right now are increasing the percentage of every dollar of the operating funding budgeted for instructional services. Another is targeting fiscal communication to the public at strategic times. And thirdly, increasing with the pandemic, increasing the health and safety budget for upcoming school year. Those are our existing metrics. And then some of the feedback that we've gotten recently with our other stakeholder groups was sort of kind of went under two buckets, but student membership. So discussion about how to increase student membership, how to maintain, eliminate barriers for registration, advertising for registration, exit, and reentry. So if we're talking about fiscal responsibility, why are we talking about student membership? It's because our funding follows the students. So the membership is a key component of our budget and our funding. The other area that we had discussion about was increasing our purchasing power for the district. So district-wide purchasing and versus site-based decisions and purchasing. Some ways to reduce our costs. So I've kind of, next slide, Stan, put that down to the feedback. And when you think about the budget, it kind of falls under two main buckets: increased revenue, student membership, and then the other bucket being reducing expenses. There we have two factors that can really affect our budget: increasing revenue or reducing expenses. And so this is where I need your assistance. Next slide. So we want you to give us some input. So I just put a link to the Padlet in the chat. If you'll click on that, and Stan, can you pull that up as well so we can all see it? Or I can, but I've got two categories listed on that Padlet: increase revenue, student membership, and reduce expenses. And if you've not used a Padlet before, you can just add a comment to either of those items, or you can click the like button, the little heart, whether you like, which one do you say that we should focus on going forward with our strategic plan. So I'll give you a few minutes to click on that link. Please raise your hand. Let me know if you're having trouble getting to that. And you can add a comment under that, or you can just add a general comment about fiscal responsibility by clicking on that little plus sign in the bottom right corner. So we would just love to have your feedback as we continue our work on this strategic plan going forward. And as I said, I just feel like it's really important to know where to focus our efforts. Great, I see some comments. I've got increased revenue, offer classes that will help students adjust better to the changing economy, reduce expenses, capture dollars by finishing consolidation process. Good comments. Good comments. We can you'll have that link to that Padlet to continue to add to that. If you, Dr. McLean, I don't know if we need to roll on or.
Let's give another minute for
Okay.
some ideas.
Great comments. And you can also use that link to view the that Padlet. We've got delve into why students leave and what brings them back, either by surveys or interviews under the increased revenue. Offer classes that give education about new changes in society, museum studies, inclusion and equity. Strengthen opportunities for AIG, AP on the increased student membership side. Great comments.
Absolutely. Excellent. Excellent. About 10 more seconds, and then we're going to move along to the next category.
Offer classes, degrees, and athletics, extracurriculars that charters do not have under the increased revenue student membership side. Offer classes to students who dropped out that are at night in case they left for work, family issues. Meet them where they are in their lives right now.
Really good comments. Really good.
Great comment. So please feel free to keep that link, bookmark it if you want to add something triggers later on and you want to add something to it, please do. Look for internships that will help students in the workforce, education, direction, college, community college, etc.
Excellent.
Great. Thank you.
Very nice. Now we'll move to health and safety. Mr. Bill Graham. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Thanks, Beth. Next slide, Stan. Thank you. So health and safety is kind of a big area. It's just kind of broad, and I'm going to keep it fairly broad as we get farther down into some of the details. Our goal is to ensure that every school is safe, and every child is physically, environmentally, and socially safe for every student. Okay, so that's a pretty broad category that we're taking care of the physical as well as emotional needs. As you can imagine, that it's going to encompass the facilities. It's going to encompass safety. Dr. McLean had a slide earlier that showed the SROs. That's certainly an integral part of it. Next slide, Stan. Thank you. And we're going to see, some of the ways that we're going to reach these goals. We'll update school buildings and practices to ensure that safety, health, and security of all students. We will create an environment of acceptance, care, and attentiveness to students and staff needs through staff development and personal strategies. And regarding safety processes and practices, we'll revisit all our safety procedures and practices. And when protocols are absent, we'll develop those new practices. So I just want you to see, regarding health and safety, we're taking a broad look. We're looking at our facilities. We're looking at taking care of the people in those facilities, and we're taking care of their safety. Next slide, Stan. In talking with stakeholders, going back to the spring and the summer, and just before school started, we had several sessions with different people. These are some of the ways that we looked at trying to achieve this earlier. So we talked about increasing the number of district-wide social workers or mental health professionals. That was an identified target. We want to increase the number of SROs to 11. Currently, just for your information, currently we are one SRO short. We have that position, but it is vacant. So, but we, even with that, that would be, I think 9. We want to increase to 11 is what we would like to get to. And finally, what had been identified was to decrease the number of long-term suspensions or the students who were alternatively placed at Phoenix Academy. Next slide, Stan. Thank you. So in the most recent discussions that we've had and areas that we need to improve, as you can imagine with COVID this past year, there was a lot of attention placed in our focus groups on social emotional care. And so we want to make sure that we're taking care of everyone, all right? So one way of doing that is to maybe have some check-ins with students, and in those check-ins, the questions would be asked, like, how are you feeling? How are you doing? And one of those questions is, my school is safe. I feel like my school is safe. And students would report out, on a Google document. So one of the things we identified was to increase the percentage of students that reply yes to that they feel that their school is safe. We also want to increase the number of students that they identify 3 or more personal strengths that they have. One of the words this year is grit. That you hear that word used a lot, and we want to emphasize the extent to which our students feel like they have the resources to be successful. And how we do that is by identifying characteristics that they possess. And then finally, we want to, again, revisit a similar topic, decrease the number of students that are in alternative placement. So we're taking a look at, numbers. We're taking a look at, so that's, qualitative, data and qualitative data. So we want to just be mindful of that. Next slide, Stan. Thank you. So this is where we're asking for your input on ways that you think that our operations can be improved, in terms of health and safety. So again, this is a very broad topic. There's pretty much anything that is open. Thank you, Ms. Day, for putting that in the chat. So it's just like what Ms. Day did. There's a Padlet there that you can jot down any ideas that you have. Again, it's very open-ended and it's broad, and we will incorporate those in our plan as we go forward. Okay? So you can take a minute or two and jot down anything that's related to health and safety that you might have an idea about. And we'll just give it a minute or so before Mr. Perry begins. And I would echo, as Ms. Day mentioned, this would be up for a while. Okay, well, thank you very much, Dr. McLean. I'll let you continue.
Problem. I think you have a few people typing, if I'm not mistaken. And while they do that, I was asked about sharing a little bit about Cadence Academy. So I will here. Cadence Academy is a new program we're offering this year with some of our ESSER dollars. Cadence Academy is an evening program, or I need to say a flexible program, because we have found even evenings don't always work. Sometimes if a youngster works it during the evening, they need us to work with them in the middle of the day. But this program is being offered for youngsters who are really close to earning his or her diploma from high school, and they just missed it They just missed it by the skin of their teeth, only short a couple of credits. They might earn an alternative diploma. They might be close enough to the full diploma. It's their choice. We also have some juniors who are off track but could get back on track. What we have found with the Cadence Academy, and we call it Cadence Academy because these are students in life who are marching to the beat of their own drum. That's sort of the catch here. Maybe they're working. That pandemic caused them to have to work. Maybe there was a pregnancy. Maybe life just got in the way. Maybe they had to move because of the pandemic. There are all of those maybes that happen sometimes. And when that happens, it doesn't mean this is a bad kid or they are in trouble. It just means they need an alternative route to get that piece of paper that will open doors for them to be able to earn wages and to earn an honest living, for just society, just for themselves, just for life, just for being able to take care of themselves. So we are offering that this year at our Phoenix Academy location. We will have that in the north, and we will be offering it in the south at Hawley Middle School. So there are two locations, but it's the Cadence Academy, and you may reach out to Principal Calvin Timberlake if you know of young people in the community who think they may have dropped out. They aren't really sure. They just want to talk with someone to maybe figure this thing out. This is a great time to do so. Have them to come talk with us. We'll be happy to talk with them. Okay. We've also found some people thought the Cadence Academy is what they wanted to do, but ended up re-enrolling in the traditional school because they didn't realize there were things right in their traditional school, which actually were more appropriate than the Cadence Academy. So we've had some huge success stories already this year. But if you ever find there's a young person just having questions or they're in a state of uncertainty, just reach out to us. We're happy to help. That's all a part of being strategic and helping students become successful. That's helping them learn and grow. So just wanted to share that with you. All right. Who do we have up next, Dr. Winborn? Let's see. Who's next this afternoon? Is it Mr. Perry?
I think that I am next, everyone. Good afternoon.
Very good. All right.
Our next category we'll delve into this afternoon is on human capital management. And that's our focus just for a few minutes. Human capital management encompasses ensuring that we, as a district, are growing our teachers and developing our teachers. That also impacts our principals as well. So we want to make sure that we value our educators, leaders, staff, and there's some very strong verbs there: recruit, select, support, develop, and retain excellent leaders and staff. And that's important that we have those key components when it comes down to our staff members. In just a few minutes, you'll learn more about the strategic goal of academic success. And with academic success, the research shows us that when we have a great teacher, or a competent teacher in front of those students each day, that academic success and student achievement improves. So we have to devote our time and efforts and our resources into developing excellent teachers and excellent principals. School leadership is pivotal to student success and teacher effectiveness and satisfaction, so we must develop our principals as well. I'll go to the next slide, please. We just talked about the goals just a little bit with the strong verbs of recruit, select, support, develop. Our department has been working through this COVID pandemic a little differently when it comes to recruiting staff members, as we cannot actually do a lot of the face-to-face recruitment that we've done in the past, which has been very key. We do hope to kind of revamp that in a more in a health and safety capacity, healthy manner in order to protect the health and safety of all that are involved. But the development, with the professional development across the district and retaining excellent educators, we also put into place this year with some help of some ESSER funds, a recruitment/retention bonus effort to help attract new educators back or to Granville County Public Schools, to say the least, not back, but actually new educators to Granville County Public Schools, excuse me. Next slide. So some of our measurable metrics with this goal is to reduce that teacher turnover rate. Right now, our teacher turnover rate is higher than that of the state average. Of course, we want to be below that state average. We want to make sure that we are doing our best to retain our quality teachers here in the district. Also increase the number of, or the percentage of nationally board certified teachers. National board certification is a rigorous process. Those teachers go through the process of filming themselves, critiquing themselves, reflecting on their practices, and how to improve student achievement. So we have a large number, and we want to grow that number because we know that that can be impactful as well to student success. Our district is very heavy with technology. We want to increase the percentage of technology credentialed teachers in our district. We have grant funding and grants that have helped our teachers to become more proficient in their use in technology because we want to use it as a tool to increase student achievement. And our last measurable metric is to increase the teacher recruitment retention supplement funding to 15% over the next 5 years. Right now, we stand at about 10% for teachers, but competitively speaking, when you look to the east and to the south of us with Durham and Wake County, which is just about an hour away for most of our faculty members, that supplement is higher. And that does have an impact on young families who are raising individuals who are raising families, and they need that income in order to sustain their lifestyle. So increasing that supplement in amount over the next 5 years will be key as well. Next slide. I'm adding a Padlet as well to seek some input from you all. This is not just a one-man show or one-woman show. This takes all of us together to come up with great ideas to attract individuals here to our district. We have a lot of great things that are going on. But we know that there are some other activities and things that we may be missing. And so what ideas can you all provide us to help us to recruit and retain quality teachers, principals, and employees here in Granville County Public Schools? So if you would click that Padlet link for me, Dr. Winborn, and we'll start gathering just a little bit of data. And we'll leave this up for a while so you have access if you want to reflect on it later, to come back and add your comments or your suggestions on how we can improve the strategy when it comes strategies for human capital management.
So recruiting, retaining quality teachers and leaders here in our district. We're open for your ideas and suggestions. This will be a need every single year of the 5-year span of the strategic plan. So we are wide open for suggestions and ideas. What should we do?
We're generating some great ideas here. I see some bubbles moving.
Yes. Yes. Let's keep this up for about a minute more. Very good. Want to share out, Mr. Perry?
Yes, connect this to commissioners. Help them understand what it is taking to keep great teachers and attract great teachers. Increase supplement, fund necessities such as retirement. Another comment, I'm not sure if you already do this or to what length you do this, but of course going to local colleges to recruit students, majoring in education, especially going into HBCUs. Many of them still have teachers colleges, and we do go to HBCUs in our state to recruit. It would be nice if we could provide a full-time mentorship program for our beginning teachers. Make funds available for a referral bonus for current staff. They can help recruit fellow educators from surrounding counties. These are some very good ideas.
Yes, yes.
The NCSU VET program offers veterinarian scholarships if they practice in rural areas for a minimum of 5 years. So could we offer scholarships to help pay for their teaching degrees? I agree that it will be important to increase the supplement if we want to retain teachers and not lose them to neighboring school districts.
Yes. Great.
Great ideas, great comments. Thank you.
Yes. Like you said, we're going to keep this up for a while. Please continue responding. Please continue. Wonderful.
Increase endorsements. Okay.
And
Total
come
cost of
across.
pursuing endorsements.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
Thank you for sharing these ideas.
Excellent. Wonderful. I believe up next this afternoon we have academic success. Dr. Winborn, I turn it over to you.
Thank you, Dr. McLean. Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. Let's see. All right. Can everyone see my screen okay?
Yes.
Great. So academic success has four main components under this priority. It's core curriculum, course offerings, whole child support, and differentiation and gap closure. The overarching goal is that we will hold high expectations for all students, ensuring our curriculum, assessment, and instructional practices lead students to reach their full academic potential. And that weaves right in with some of the same statements Dr. McLean has made earlier. The strategies with which we will achieve this goal fall into these four categories. And in a minute, I'm going to show you some of the targets or metrics that we're using to measure whether or not these strategies are working. But this core curriculum is a critical piece, making sure that we have research-based curriculum that aligns to the standards. We teach to the standards here in Granville County Public Schools, and we need to make sure that an instruction and the assessments and the expectations are all aligned in that regard. That's very, very important. But we also need to make sure that we offer a wide variety of opportunities and course offerings for our students, not just the core content areas. And I think that's one area that we certainly have a strength, especially for being a rather small rural county. We do a very good job with that. And then the third category, whole child support. This, of course, is more important than ever, given what we've been through in the past 18 months. But making sure that we have those structures in place to support children in their social and emotional needs, and that we're creating that welcoming, safe environment. This does overlap with some of the things that Mr. Graham was speaking to earlier regarding support services, social workers, psychologists, SROs. Our SROs are not there just to enforce the law. They are actually wonderful partners in education and provide a lot of support to our students. So there's some overlap there. And then making sure that we are differentiating and meeting the needs of our learners. We cannot teach one size fits all to everyone. We know that our students have unique needs and different gaps, and some are accelerated in certain areas and others are lacking. And especially given the circumstances of this past year and a half, this is more important than ever. So again, this is the goal. High expectations, that was one of those points of the star, and leading our students to their full academic potential, or making sure that they thrive in this changing world. So the different stakeholders have identified these as the key metrics for making sure that we meet these goals. And I'm going to go through these and then unpack a couple of them for you. The first has to do with our graduation rate. So in public schools across North Carolina, the graduation rate is measured by the percentage of students who graduate within 4 years of becoming a ninth grader. So the state average is somewhere around 85 or so. Just this past year, we were just shy of 84%. And so we're very proud that our graduation rate held strong. But we want to, as you saw in that first slide with Dr. McLean, we want to beat the state rate of improvement. So anytime you talk about state statistics, we want to be doing better. We want to be surpassing what's going on as an average across the state. We want to go beyond that. We have higher expectations. Then the attendance rate, of course, this is a big challenge with many of our students coming off of not having physically come to school in over a year. We had many families that elected to stay out for the entire year last year. That option was given. And so we've seen some difficulty in getting children back attending school regularly this year. Plus, you add the layer of all of these quarantines and isolations that are having to occur. So that's an area of focus. And then decreasing the dropout rate. That also critical number. Dr. McLean highlighted the Cadence Academy as another choice for students that are facing challenges to keeping them in school and on track to get that diploma. These last two, these have to do with measures for state testing. And when I'm talking about state testing, I'm talking about the end of grade tests for grades 3 through 8 in reading and math, science for grades 5 and 8, and end of course tests for high school classes, such as Math 1, Math 3, English 2, and biology. We, of course, also have the ACT, which is a college prep test, and our work keys, which is a workplace readiness test. So the results of those state tests go into the calculations to determine whether or not a school meets or exceeds growth. And that is done using a system called EVOS, and that's an acronym. And that is calculated by the folks at SAS, big tech firm in Cary that, or RTP, that helps do the analytics for the state of North Carolina in determining how well students are doing compared to their peers across the state. So that growth designation for schools, we always want to see exceeding growth or meeting growth. We don't want them to be not meeting the growth, the expected growth. And that last bullet are the letter grades. State of North Carolina has instituted a process that assigns letter grades to each school. And this again is based on different data points, but mostly go back to the state standardized tests, both the proficiency, which counts about 80% of that grade, and then the growth, which count about 20%. And we want all of our schools, all of them, to be receiving a letter grade of an A or B, or certainly no lower than a C. So those are the main metrics that we have for meeting these goals under the umbrella of academics. So what I'd like to do right now is if you take just a minute and use the chat feature to talk about some of the strategies specific strategies you would identify for each of these areas. And while you're doing that, I will offer that this academic year, coming off of the decision by the state to not use the test scores for accountability purposes, we know that we've got a lot of work to do. But the metrics that we're putting in our strategic plan are going to be very aggressive. We are not going to lower our expectations. We are going to keep our targets high, and we are going to push hard, because we know our students don't have time to wait for us to get caught up. We've got to go after this. So I will ask maybe one of my colleagues, since I'm sharing my screen, if you see anything in the chat that you could read out, I would appreciate it for any of these items.
Dr. Wimborne, I created a Padlet and put the link in the chat if you'd rather use that.
That would be great.
Dr. Wimborne, this is April Schaefer. Can you tell us what the causes are for the dropouts?
So when we report dropouts, basically we are required, if a student does not attend school for a certain period of time after they're a certain age, then they're no longer reporting to school. We can no longer include them on our enrollment. And typically, I believe schools do have to choose a rationale or a reason in some of the reporting. But as far as the individual decisions that students make to not come to school, I think those vary widely. We certainly have a lot of different circumstances. Some students choose to drop out because they need to work full time, or maybe they need to take care of a child. We know that some students have children, family emergencies, all sorts of, A to Z. Maybe they just haven't been successful, or they've sort of gone down a path that's not full of good decisions, so on and so forth. So I don't have anything I can share with you kind of in data holistically for the district, though, Ms. Schaefer. Is that somewhat answering your question?
Yes, thank you.
Sure. All right, and I think I've got the Padlet showing alternative pathways to completion. Great suggestion. I'm happy to report that Dr. McLean has certainly pushed for that. Just this summer, we had a wonderful graduation ceremony that I believe it was 32 or 34 students. She conferred that diploma right out front here in our parking lot. That wouldn't have otherwise graduated. So great suggestion.
We've become a district that I hope is beginning to understand, not all students finish or get across the finish line at the same time. So whereby June used to be the only graduation, we have a winter graduation. And, our winter graduation consisted of a lot of early graduates. Sometimes people think the opposite, but our winter graduation consisted of a lot of students who were graduating early for a variety of reasons, military reasons, to get to school a semester early, tons of wonderful reasons. And then we offered the summer graduation. And, we just have to operate knowing graduation for some students comes at a variety of times. And so we want to be that district that honors that, and having a variety of pathways to get there is a part of that process. So thank you for that statement. In order to meet, what is that, Dr. Winborn?
Yeah, I see another comment about investing in full or part-time math and reading interventionists. And the interventionists are those specially trained educators who can target instruction to students who may be struggling or behind or need some extra support. Another comment, finding out why a student drops out and helping them if possible. Sometimes you can't help, sometimes you can't. Sometimes you can help, sometimes you can't. Concerning graduation, sometimes it's trouble in one or two classes that holds a student back. Finding out what trouble the student is having in that one or two classes and offering them solutions to help them pass. Yes. Absolutely. Great. Yes. Great comment. For troubled teens, partner with the Granville Sheriff's Department to hold a junior academy, get them involved with the school resource officers in a positive way. Wonderful suggestion. That they are outstanding partners with us. I think once we can get past this pandemic, we can get that back up and running again. Great suggestion.
Yes.
Expanded porch visits, curriculum coaches, making sure that students see the importance of their education.
Yes.
Good stuff.
Great. Absolutely. We're going to keep this Padlet up as well. Please keep the good ideas coming because it's all good. We are wide open. Thank you all so very much. Our last area this afternoon is communication and community. And we know communication is critically important for any school system. So Ms. Courtney Curran, we turn it over to you.
Thank you. So our communication and community goals are really about fostering community relationships, being accessible to all of the different communities that we do serve within our bigger community, and then telling our story. And that's really one of the biggest focuses we have right now is telling our story and getting information out to you all that you might not have otherwise. Dr. Winborn, you want to go to the next slide? So our overall goal is that our relationships that we have are meaningful, and that we are listening, we are communicating intentionally and effectively with our students, parents, businesses, and other stakeholders. So that means developing some relationships within the community and within different groups in the community so that we can get feedback, but also that those groups can help us engage our students. Making sure that we're accessible for all, so multiple languages, making sure that our communication is culturally responsive, and that we are doing things like making sure that we have subtitles on our videos so that people who have difficulty with hearing or another issue like that can read what we're putting out to them. But then again, really telling our story, making sure that we are letting people know what is actually happening in our community and in our schools, and how our schools are impacting our community in a positive way. Next slide. So we have some measurable metrics that we have developed from the different stakeholder groups we've met with so far. Increasing the number of school volunteers. It's a great way to build communication, is to have people in our schools to see what's happening. Obviously, that's not as open as we would like right now with the pandemic, but that is something we are hoping to continue to increase. Increasing the number of business and community partners, and we already have a plan in place for that. Increasing families who indicate satisfaction with our communication efforts, and the number of community outreach events we have. Then increasing our translators and interpreters so that we are better able to communicate with our members of our community who do not necessarily speak the predominant language of English. And then increase the number of opportunities to capture student voices and to see what students have done. Next slide. And one of my favorite things, I'm actually going to go ahead and slip down to the bottom of this, but one of the favorite things that I've seen so far this year in our communication has come from our web students. I don't know if you all have seen it on social media, but they created an amazing video where they used their voices to say exactly how much their teachers and their school has done for them as they start this new year. And those are the types of communications that we want to have out for everyone. Individual schools have Remind, Class Dojo, their marquees. These are all different apps that they can use to communicate with their families and with the community as a whole. We also are making sure that we're publishing any information that we have in multiple languages from our schools and from our district. And here very soon, you're going to start getting a monthly parent engagement newsletter that's going to be published on our website so you can see what is happening. This is called The Pulse, and Miss Tara-Lynn Hester is working on that each month, and that's going to provide information about what's happening in our schools, what's happening in our CTE programs. There are many questions that we have gotten this week, or gotten today, sorry, on the Padlets that I know are actually already, the answers to them are in that first newsletter. So I'm excited to see that what we're doing is exactly what you guys are requesting on these Padlets. And then of course, newspaper articles, daily social media posts, weekly social media video series. One thing we have heard is that people don't know what's happening in our schools. And so we are doing that video series each week to show you what's happening in our schools so you can see how amazing our students and teachers are. Next slide. We also have a group of staff members here at the central office level who are working on business and community partner outreach, and they are actually reaching out to more businesses and trying to develop relationships for individual schools with businesses and in our CTE program for that career and technical education piece. We do have some community-wide outreach events that are upcoming that we're excited about. A mobile parent resource bus that will actually go out to the community to work with members of the community and to provide resources to parents who can't get to us at school. So that's a really exciting thing. And then more student videos. We just are looking forward to that as well. Next slide. So I'm going to actually put another Padlet here in the chat box. We really want to know what would you like to see us communicate? What would you like to see in social media, on the newspaper, on our website, in our parent newsletter? Are there other types of communication that we're missing? What can we help you with, and what can we help you know about our district?
The dots are moving, so it's coming. It is coming. Great information, I'm sure.
Well, and I will say another piece of feedback that we've heard, and it's loud and clear, is keep it simple, keep it consistent. And so we've also tried to make sure that we're using multiple methods that are consistent and simple. Our videos are never longer than a minute because we want to respect your time, but also give you good information.
That's right. While we're waiting on this to populate, I'll go ahead and talk about a few things to come. Our new website is in the process of being developed. We're working with the vendors right now. Our technology department is working as fast as they can, but expect a new website look in December, and that ought to be extremely informative. We're excited about that. We've heard you loud and clear that it's very difficult to find information on our website. So we're cleaning it up. It's just taking us a minute. So we've been told December, so stay tuned. We're hoping our website will offer a new adventure for us by way of having to only click 3 times to find nearly anything you want on our GCPS website. So that is December. We're also really excited, as you heard Mrs. Curran say, the parent mobile. This is going to go out into the community to deliver information. You know how our bookmobile went out to deliver books and snacks and food? Well, the parent mobile is designed to take parent information to the community, especially those communities where parents have not been able to get to us as easily as we'd like. So, or as easily as they'd like, even. So, this mobile is going to go out into the community with information about the school system and other information from agencies or other information parents just need to know. So we're excited about that, and that's going to take place a little bit later, after late fall, early winter. So we're working on that now, but that is to come. So stay tuned there. And you heard about Miss Tara Lynn Hester. She's our new family community coordinator, Tara Lynn Hester. She's had some wonderful meetings with our parents in the community, and they're producing the Pulse, as Courtney Curran just mentioned. So, Courtney, it looks like you have some information that is populated. You want to tell us about it?
Yes, absolutely. Having some information in that newsletter about ways that parents can support their students at home and support the school if they can't personally come and volunteer for whatever reason. Having supper with the school board and superintendent. I think my favorite part of that one is some of the best conversations happen at the dinner table. And that is true. So just having some conversations and answering some questions. And then there's also a concern that I think is very valid and something we've definitely talked about and need to continue to find some solutions for, is what happens for parents who can't get on the internet, who aren't able to connect. How are we making sure that they're getting this information as well? I think that's a great point.
It is. Excellent. And we're going to keep this Padlet up as well. We want to continue hearing from absolutely everyone, and feel free to share these Padlet sites with your neighbors, your colleagues, your friends, your school staff. The information is what we're interested in. We want good information. We want to hear from each of you. Before the pandemic, I had the pleasure of taking one of these pictures, as you can see, with these wonderful ambassadors. These were some of our student ambassadors at the time, and they get to tell me their thoughts too. And I enjoy listening to these young people. Our vision of an extraordinary learning system, and they are the main thing. And we do it so that we can get to that next slide, which is for them to get to that big day of graduation where we know they're ready to take on the world. So this time I'm going to turn it over to our two board members to close us out, Mrs. Glenda Williams and Dr. Greg McKnight.
Okay, well, I'd just like to thank all of you for being here today and taking time to listen and give your input through the Padlet. I know that it takes all of us to create a 5-star district, a district that's committed to ensuring that all of our students are empowered to reach their fullest potential, because together we have enough grit to strategically and methodically grow our students over the next coming years.
Thank you, Dr. McKnight. Mrs. Williams?
Yes, I too like to thank everybody for their input. I'm very excited about this year. There are a lot of things going on in Granville County schools, and we can tell that the focus is on growth for our students, and we appreciate everyone's support, and it is a community effort. Teachers can't do it alone. They need parents and community support, and we all do. And we will be busy moving the system forward. Thank everyone for coming.
Thank you so very much, everyone. We will keep the Padlets up for about a week. We will make sure your thoughts and ideas get translated and taken back to the appropriate organizations within our organization. They're going to continue this work. Thank you so very much. Have a lovely evening. We will talk soon. Goodbye.